welcome this year's honorees.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you all to the Oslo City Hall and the annual Oslo Business for Peace Award ceremony. The City of Oslo is proud to have been working together with the Business for Peace Foundation the last decade. And we are delighted to host the yearly Oslo Business for Peace Award ceremony here in the heart of Oslo City Hall. 30 years ago, the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development published the report Our Common Future. The report is widely known as the Brundtland Report, and I'm honored that we have Gro Harlem Brundtland together with us here today. The report is widely used and a clear definition of what sustainable development is. But the report also pointed out how the major challenges in the world are interlocking, like climate change, decreasing biodiversity, poverty, and growing migration. Everything is interlinked. To meet these challenges, we need international cooperation on a scale unparalleled in history. We need ways of thinking. We need new ways of working together. The challenges cannot be solved by governments alone. We need involvement of cities, civil societies, and businesses. Social responsibility and sustainability is a core of the municipality's purpose and activities. The municipality of Oslo spends an equivalent to about 3 billion euro annually on procurement and investment. This gives us a great opportunity to influence businesses to act more sustainable. As Norway's second largest procurer, we can use our purchasing power to set a new standard of requirements. Our suppliers have to comply with a number of green, sustainable, and social responsibility requirements, including standards for human and labor rights, and we monitor their compliance on a regular basis. We are constantly developing our practices, working with businesses in order to make a real difference for workers in our supply chains all around the world. To succeed in these efforts, we depend on business active commitment. This is why the Business for Peace Award is so important. It highlights the importance of business in shaping the society that we actually want. And it inspires and encourages business people to foster peace, stability, and sustainability to the benefit of humanity. I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate this year's Honourees for their work. You are outstanding examples of how business leaders and businesses can contribute to sustainable development. And it's really an honor to have you with us here today. Congratulations. And now I would like to welcome my good friend, Per Saksegård, to the stage. Welcome, Per.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, dear Honourees, ladies and gentlemen, friends. The three strongest forces on the planet, technology, globalization, and climate change, are in simultaneous and non-linear acceleration. Thomas Friedman of the New York Times summarized 2016 as a year when a critical mass of our lives and work shifted from our physical terrestrial world and into a realm we call cyberspace. The majority of our interactions have moved into a realm where we are all connected, but no one is in charge. This became clear to us in Norway when the editor of the newspaper Aftenposten, Espen Egil Hansen, addressed the lack of editorial responsibility on Facebook in his letter to Mark Zuckerberg. After the election in the US, Mr. Zuckerberg stepped up and took his leadership in a new direction. In his statement, he addressed Mr. Hansen. The founder of Facebook sees what many of us here today do too. A world where we are all connected without anyone being in charge. The pace and scale of change is daunting, in some ways also frightening. We see a lack of trust that people now have in institutions, from business to politics to media, even to experts and academics, as well as record low trust in business leaders. Without rebuilding that trust, we will be sure to fail in our common ambitions to reach the Sustainable Development Goals, to build an inclusive, equitable, and green world for us all. Trust is, after all, the biggest single enabler of success. I think these most challenging developments underscores the increasing relevance of the Foundation's vision to inspire leaders to be business-worthy and have as their purpose to improve society. Therefore, this year's theme for the Business for Peace Summit is breakthrough ideas for future-proofing our economy. We explore how breakthrough ideas on technology, finance, and leadership can lead us and help us to do exactly that, future-proof. This cannot be done by established leaders alone. We need emerging and passionate talents from across the globe for generations to collaborate and co-create. This was recognized 30 years ago by Gro Harlem Brundtland in the report referred to, and the term sustainable development was coined. Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the next generation to meet their own needs. We are honored that Dr. Brundtland is here today and to deliver the State of the Union between Business and Society address. This year's Business for Peace honorees are outstanding examples of what it means to take business-worthy leadership and use that both in technology, in finance, and in leadership to truly move the needle and help improve society. All of them being entrepreneurs, they have the one thing in common. They're all global citizens. They're all immigrants or sons or children of immigrants. We live not only in a world where we are technologically connected, but also in a world where people connect across borders by choice or by force. This means that the purpose, the passion, the silliness of our honorees will be even more essential in building the world we all want, whether that is being terrestrial or in cyberspace. Thank you. Let me then give the word to the man who will guide us through this ceremony. He is both a philosopher, a lecturer, a peace researcher, and has the ability to combine warmth with intelligence and humor. A long-time friend of the foundation, Dr. Henrik Syse.
Thank you very much, Per, for those nice words. They really asked me to do it because I do it for free. But I've now learned from Barack Obama what it costs. So, seriously, excellencies, honorees, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Well, it's obviously morning somewhere in the world, and it's a good way to start. And as the inimitable Truman Burbank of The Truman Show would have added, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Henrik. For those of you who do know me, my name is also Henrik. And I will be in charge of making sure that we end around 5:30. Seriously, the image of the morning is an important one. The sun rising, new ideas springing forth, and a reminder that the nightmares of last night, maybe they weren't real after all. We can tackle them. And the really good thing about mornings, of course, is that there will be a new one in the morning if we do not succeed all the way today. I think it is an apt image for the Business for Peace Foundation, and also for the day that some of us have had together today at the Business for Peace Roundtable, where we've heard from some of the honorees and a number of really innovative people about the different ways in which we can say good morning to the future. However, one of our main challenges is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to all the problems that we confront. It reminds me of the little boy who asks his mother, "What's the time?" And she answers. 10 minutes later, "What's the time?" And she answers again. 10 more minutes, "What's the time?" And she says, "Why do you keep asking me again and again?" "Well," answers the boy, "this is really hard because you keep coming up with a different answer every time." And it feels a bit like that because we are confronted with new challenges all the time. To the program, we heard at the beginning the fabulous brothers Hans and Rasmus Kjorstad, two of Norway's most talented young musicians who have especially worked on combining Norwegian folk music with modern electronics, with modern expressions of music. Innovation building on classical principles. That pretty much sounds like Business for Peace, doesn't it, Per? It was indeed a great pleasure to listen to them, along with their drummer Ringo Starr, who fortunately couldn't make it tonight, so it wasn't him. Instead, we heard the equally great drummer and electronic tech wizard Jonas Barsten, and also Christian Jakobsen on bass. Thanks a lot to them. By the time we are through here, we will have had interesting conversations with several unique individuals, and of course, the bestowal of the prestigious award. But before that, we are honored to welcome our keynote speaker, who will deliver this annual address. 30 years ago, she presented a landmark report from the committee that she chaired on sustainable development entitled Our Common Future. And that's where we find ourselves now, isn't it? In our common future. So where do we stand today? Let me add that it is a special honor and pleasure for me personally to introduce her, since my father actually took over from her as Prime Minister of Norway, and darn it, she thereafter took over from him. For a while there, she was kind of our default prime minister. If no one else can make it, you can always ask Gro. Let me add, she was someone for whom my father had the deepest respect, as we all do. I promise you there will be no Syse-Brundtland debate here tonight. Help me instead welcome to the podium with the applause that she deserves, Mrs. Gro Harlem Brundtland.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much to Henrik Syse and dear honorees, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first, let me thank the Business for Peace Foundation for the opportunity to speak today. I want to recognize your important role and work to encourage business-worthy leadership that benefits economies and societies. The 2017 Business for Peace honorees exemplify this type of leadership for people and planet. As the theme of this summit notes, we are gathered 30 years after the UN World Commission on Environment and Development, which I was honored to chair, released the report Our Common Future. The Commission considered the interwoven challenges of environmental degradation, poverty, and population growth, and created the broad political concept of sustainable development. In our report, which called for radical change and transformation, we pointed at the need for equitable growth, and one that is forceful and at the same time socially and environmentally sustainable. We have come a long way since then. Kill a child. Industrialization has transformed societies, yet environmental destruction continues, and the effects of climate change threaten the world's most vulnerable populations and ecosystems. Compounded by ongoing conflict and insecurity in too many communities, a record number of people have been forced to flee their homes in search of safety. The forces of inequality stock exchanges, other times laid down by laws regulating annual reporting, such as, for example, in Norway. I do not believe all of this would have seen the light of day if the world of business had simply opposed it. But the world of business instead seemed to welcome it, at least the progressives among you. These rules serve to level the playing field and to extend licenses to operate. And responsible leaders recognize that unsustainable practices, which may seem exterior to their own activity, is in fact interior to their wider business opportunity. And over and beyond what I just referred to, we have ethical rules for different investment funds. A pioneering set of such is the Norwegian government pension fund, also called the Oil Fund. This fund and the ethical guidelines hold 9,000 companies around the world accountable, knowing, as they do, that being expelled from this fund on ethical grounds will not please their investors. The ethical guidelines of the Oil Fund have become the global gold standard for investment funds and are being emulated by other funds, so there is no turning back. The need for private sector engagement is stronger than ever. We cannot solve global challenges without the resources, expertise, technology, and brain power of business. This was clearly recognized in 2015 when all UN member states adopted the Sustainable Development Goals. Increasingly, the business community has embraced the pursuit of the Sustainable Development Goals as a social responsibility and as an economic opportunity. Increasingly, consumers factor sustainability into their purchasing decisions. Young people, as customers and employees, demand corporate sustainability, and families that move from poverty to prosperity open new markets. A recent report from the Business and Sustainable Development Commission found that sustainable business models in 4 key areas: energy, cities, food and agriculture, and health and well-being, could create US $12 trillion of economic opportunities. Yes, 100 trillion crowns, and generate up to 380 million jobs by 2030. Increasingly, businesses are not merely incorporating sustainability into their existing plans. They are building their plans around it. We have heard several such examples during the day. So, what steps can the business community take to continue progress? First, respect human rights of employees, customers, and workers throughout supply chains. When an estimated 168 million children are working instead of learning, when women do not receive equal pay for equal work, and when labor is forced, not free, for millions, it is clear that human rights must be a higher priority on the business agenda. The UN Global Compact and the UN Human Rights Office guiding principles on business and human rights provide important frameworks to protect human rights. Respect for people's human rights is not just part of a social development agenda, it is its essential bedrock. Second, address inequalities. Corporate culture has been a key driver of the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. It also has the power to help close that gap. I want to particularly highlight the obligation and opportunity of empowering women around the world. Countries and companies with higher level of gender equality have faster growth, have better performance. And companies that support the empowerment of women within and outside their ranks will be on a stronger footing. And third, companies that support the empowerment, companies should commit to leading on the Sustainable Development Goals. This includes aligning corporate goals with the SDGs, working across an industry to establish benchmarks and to increase impact, and sharing expertise with governments and with NGOs. I noticed that in the contemporary public discourse of Norway, reference is still often made to what I once said in Parliament. Everything is linked to, this is not the 17th of May, you know. So, in Parliament, I said everything is indeed linked to everything else. At that time, and I remember it vividly, about 20 years ago, I was immediately attacked and criticized for being so unclear and evasive. Still, increasing millions of people now know that what I said holds true. The awareness increase over the last 20-25 years has been astounding. I believe the climate issue offers the clearest demonstration why this is so. And while we can hope that voluntary action by business will help us reach the 2-degree target, I believe that it will not be possible without policies, regulation, taxes, and incentives that can drive change. We have experience with measures that work. We actually know that we need to do what we need to do, and we have experience, remember, with political leaders prescribing too low doses of the needed medicines. It is crucial for the public and private sectors to come together to measure and to price what matters. The marketplace must reflect the full ecological and human costs of economic decisions and establish price signals that make transparent the consequences both of action and of inaction. From these 3 points follow. First, pollution, including carbon emissions, must be priced higher. Second, subsidies should be made transparent and phased out for fossil fuels. And third, we must build new ways to measure development beyond GDP. Now, ironically, these are recommendations that we presented in our UN report in 1987. Throughout the 20th century, economic growth was measured by the accumulation of physical, financial, and human capital, without regard to changes in natural capital, and without taking social risks into account. In the 21st century, the goal must be a green economy that can generate economic growth and improvements in people's lives without harming the environment. This is not a burden to be borne. It is an opportunity to be seized. It means taking advantage of the vast potential to increase resource productivity. It means investing in sustainable technologies that will create jobs and support the poor, improve health and education, and build more resilient and equitable societies. And it means minimizing risks while expanding prosperity. Allow me to finally to challenge the business world. This year there is a sharp focus on the state of the oceans. It is a hot topic in this country, and it is an equally hot topic internationally. The world will gather in early June at the UN in New York for a 4-day conference on SDG number 14, which is about the state of the oceans. It has been said that by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than biomass. Yes, and 80% of marine pollution originates on land, including somehow all of the plastic. Nanoplastics may be soon found in much of our food. We may prohibit some uses of plastics, but it seems too feeble a medicine. The plastics issue will probably go away when business finds a way to make money out of cleaning the oceans, and when we find alternatives to our daily uses of plastics. So this is the challenge for today, a challenge that I hope you will take. In conclusion, we will all benefit from the many decisions taken by businesses that look beyond the short term and that choose business-worthy investments and solutions for the future. These are the actors, the innovators we will see succeed. These will prove to be the heroes of the younger generations. Businesses have long been a force for wealth creation. Today, they can also be a force for justice and for peace. Working with and for society, they can help fulfill the vision of sustainable development we launched 3 decades ago. Not in Oslo, but in London. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Gro. And if you guests find that that sounds a little bit informal, that's the way we speak to each other, isn't it? You're Gro to everyone. Thank you so much for sharing that. There is a certain president of the United States who said a few days ago that he had come up with a new expression. Turned out it was 100 years old. But your commission actually did come up with an expression. You formulated for us the concept of sustainable development. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. If you do hear a pop again, look up in the air and you will know what it is. It's not dangerous. These are balloons gotten ready for the 17th of May, which is our Constitution Day tomorrow. So don't fear. We will now invite up here on stage 2 young leaders to meet with this middle-aged follower. The first one is Aurora Belle. She is CEO and co-founder of the startup firm Together, which is an in-house startup within EQT Ventures. It's a European matchmaking service for early-stage investors and startups. Just want to put in a little pause there to make it even more interesting. She is also known as an angel investor, a columnist, a news junkie, an aubergine lover, many, many other things. Please come up on stage, Aurora, and an applause for her. Also, we have with us Vaibhav Lodha, co-founder of FT Cash, which is one of India's fastest growing financial technology companies. FT Cash serves more than 60 million underserved micro merchants in India through financial inclusion using digital payments and loans. In Norway, we call it VIPs. You have gotten a long way. Well, when it comes to Vaibhav, that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. There is so much. Of course, you don't even have icebergs in India. But either way, please welcome up on stage with me, Vaibhav Lodha. I'd like for you to share with me some thoughts. As I said when we emailed about this, what would you say if you had a chance to speak to business leaders. And now you do. Let me start with you. We heard Gro speak about emancipation, empowerment, the importance of that. I know that some of your entrepreneur work has taken place in the Middle East. Could you tell us a little bit about the values that drive you in your work there?
Definitely. I'm a firm believer in the power of entrepreneurship and the power of technology and the narrative of the entrepreneur as a hero. And here in Oslo, in London, in Silicon Valley, that is a narrative that we're used to. You would even be able to call it a sect-like circus right now. But in other parts of the world, it's less of a sect-like circus, and I think there's definitely room for a broader contextual understanding of how hard it is to build a business. It sounds like it's a straight idea, a straight line from idea to success. But the amount of tears, blood, sweat, and people calling you crazy really makes it a challenge. And I think that's where, in that early stages, where we can be supportive.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the Middle East, what you have done there.
Well, actually, I did a roadshow around 9 hubs in the region, which I use humor as a tool, so similar to you. Humor as a tool to what I called saluting the naive and crazy. And the mission was, if we can get mothers, when they're bragging about their kids to each other, when entrepreneur is a natural thing to brag about, then we've succeeded. So it's the idea of talking about how hard it is from a very real perspective, and making it normal, and making people understand that I'm being called crazy, but so are you, and so are you, and we are, and we're wearing it as a badge of honor. It's a good thing, and let's continue to build. So that's what I did in the region.
Thank you very much, and I can assure you fathers brag about their kids too, you know, so yeah, it's a good image. Naive and crazy, I like that. Are you naive and crazy?
Yes, pretty much.
Very good, then you're in the right place. Could you tell me a little bit about what sort of values got you started? When you had choices to do different things, how did you get into the sort of entrepreneurship that you ended up with?
So a lot of work that I do is combining government, industry, and academia to work towards economic, social, and financial inclusion. So 2015, when I just started up, before that, I used to work in the corporate sector. And it was crazy that my newspaper guy would come start of every month and ask me for money. And whenever he would come, I'd wake up on a Sunday morning and tell him, can you please come later? I don't have the cash right now. So the 5th month, he eventually came to me and told me that, sir, you've not paid me for almost 5 months now. And likewise, there are about 200 families that have not paid me. So now I have to actually loan this amount from a money lender who's going to charge me 40 to 50% on this money that I'm going to buy, because no financial institution gives me that money for this cheap. So that is when it sort of struck me that why have I not paid him for this long, and why is he has to pay so much more money? So then that's when I started discussing this with my now co-founders, and we realized that there's a big opportunity that lies here. And actually what Madam Gro said sometime back, that businesses and society will rise together or fall together. This is where I clearly believe that there was like a social opportunity which was there, and we converted that into a business to actually make it sustainable for ourselves.
Great, thank you. So it's a lot about seeing the social opportunities that are actually there.
Yeah.
Let's say now, Aurora, that you are speaking to a group of, say, 10 young people who would like to be naive, crazy entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What is it they should really do in order to find those opportunities?
Well, first they should understand that being naive and crazy is a good thing, and it's binary. So first they're naive and crazy, and then something happens, and then they're geniuses. So they either
I haven't gotten there yet, but that's good.
They either get capital, or something happens with their consumer base, it picks up, it works. And then the context around it goes, that's a great idea. You are an entrepreneur and a founder. So understanding that you need to get to that point. And in order to do that, you usually need capital, as well as an infrastructure around you. And raising that capital is where I think we here can do the most. Because there is risk involved, and you might not understand everything. And the easiest way to feel smart as an investor is to ask critical questions. You might feel smart, but you haven't actually moved the needle about in that conversation. Because by definition, every young company can be picked apart, because it's not tried and tested yet. We're still in the tweaking phase. So I implore you, don't feel smart, be smart, and take a bet and take a leap of faith and know how the game goes. And so the youngsters should just play that theater, play the vanity of the investors, play their FOMO, which is my favorite abbreviation, fear of missing out. Get them excited about the adventure you're building, and with that, start moving from crazy to genius.
Thank you so much. It seems to me, Weibel, that a lot of the work you've been doing is about social inclusion.
Yes.
It's about a world where a lot of people feel that power and elites are very far away.
Yeah.
Is it true, is it the right reading of what you do, that you are trying to lessen that gap? And if so, how can we do more to make sure that we include more people in development?
So, in terms of what we have been discussing since the last couple of days, right? One common thread that actually ties everything for me together, apart from social enterprises, for the large corporations to actually bring about social change, I believe that there's a term called shared values, which each of these companies can incorporate. Now, what shared values means is that within their companies, they can find the social problems that they're addressing and actually make their organization work towards it. So one of the examples that happened in India a few years back was that there was a CPG company, a consumer product good company, that was looking at putting in some money in CSR, but instead of going the traditional way, they actually wanted to take it a different route and say that, okay, how do we put that money differently? So what they did was that they figured that child anemia was one of the biggest problems that India was facing, and they wanted to solve it. So they said, we are a biscuit company, how can we solve it? So they actually created a biscuit which had more of iron, more of other vitamins and proteins that children needed, and created that at a very affordable price so that the children in the rural areas could actually use it. And they, in the next few years, had the maximum number of employees who wanted to work with them, because they also wanted to see the sense of purpose in their work.
As a father, I just have to say that healthy biscuits, that's just fantastic.
Yeah.
But more seriously, obviously you're talking about seeing the opportunities,
yes,
seeing that there are actually challenges to be solved,
yes,
and that it's possible.
Yes.
I would like all of you to give a great round of applause to Aurora and Belle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Tusen takk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. When I realize that I'm more than 20 years older than them, I feel like Louis Armstrong, who said, they'll learn much more than I'll ever know. Thank you very much for sharing with us. Wonderful to have you with us. Have any of you, or has any of you, heard of the oud? It is truly one of my favorite instruments, especially associated with the Middle East and Arabic music. I actually have a good friend who plays the oud, and it's fantastic every time. Now you'll have a chance to hear it. Our next truly remarkable performer is the first ever musician to graduate from the prestigious Berklee College of Music in the US with the oud as her main instrument. Her passion for Middle East music was ignited by a trip to the West Bank with her father, and actually her father, Dean Saigon, was Business for Peace honoree back in 2013. She has since immersed herself in Arabic music, winning numerous honors and accolades. It gives me the greatest pleasure to introduce to all of you Alia Saigon.
عصفور طل من الشباك قال لي يا نونو خبيني عنك خبيني دخلك دخلك يا نونو. فرفتها الزمان. عصفور طل من الشباك قال لي يا نونو خبيني عندك خبيني دهلك يا نونو. Little bird came to my window. The bird, he said to me خبيني عندك خبيني. Said the bird, just hide me with you, shelter in your arms. I asked him, where are you from? قال لي من قفص هربان. I asked him, from where you come? قال لي من the house next door. I asked him, why are you frightened? The cage I fear. I asked him, where are your feathers? And he taken by the years. Oh bird, tell me, how can I keep you safe from harm? Said the bird, just hide me with you, shelter in your arms.
This year again, the Business for Peace nominees are the proof that working ethically and looking for sustainable development is viable and worthy. Trust cannot be purchased. It must be earned. If every small enterprise has a purpose that goes beyond profit, imagine the positive impact on society. If you are not here to improve society, then why are you here? Showing leadership by showcasing business's ability to help confront and solve the world's most demanding and complex problems. We need to continue to conduct ourselves as good citizens of our community, giving back to it as we benefit from it. If we are going to achieve an equitable and peaceful society, it is imperative for us to have a financial system that is inclusive and works for all. Business can be about more than dollars. It can impact and change society and people's lives in a positive way.
We have come to the highlight of the evening. So many highlights, but still, this is the award ceremony. I tried to teach you a Norwegian expression last year. Rosinen I pølsa. The raisin in the hot dog. That's a weird expression. But anyway, we have gotten to that point where we will actually meet these fantastic honorees. But before we do so, and before Per and Raymond here will be handing out the awards, you will be meeting two of the members of the award committee. I know that they had Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty on the committee, but when they did wrong at the Oscar ceremonies, they kind of showed them out. We want to make sure that we announce the right honorees, right? There are no dangers here. And I can assure you, with the two people that I now have the honor of calling up on stage, that won't happen. Two very special people. The first is president of the Tunisian Confederation of Industry, Trade and Handicrafts, which was part of the Tunisian Dialogue Quartet, which was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2015. The other was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2004, a very important Norwegian international economist, and the two of them are Uded Bouchamaoui and Finn Hydland, please.
Thank you. The Oslo Business for Peace Award is given to business leaders as individuals for outstanding business-worthy accomplishment. All of these years, Business for Peace honorees highlight business-worthy entrepreneurship by contributing to sustainable development in the communities where they unfold their businesses. They help build societal trust in business and stand out as important role models. The 2017 honorees represent leaders who mobilize their businesses to help solve societal problems, creating value for both society and for their business. The honorees are helping to change the face of capital markets, driving technology to solve the challenges of climate change, promoting the merits of social inclusiveness, and spearheading sustainable agriculture whilst alleviating hunger in the Syrian refugee crisis. The name of the first 2017 Business for Peace honoree is Durreen Shahnaz. Mrs. Shahnaz receives the award for her business-worthy work in spearheading the transformation of the way financial and capital markets work to move beyond profit maximizing, focusing on purpose and maximizing impact. Her life is a fascinating journey along a path with obstacles and challenges unknown to most successful business persons. Mrs. Shahnaz, would you please come to the stage?
The name of the second 2017 Business for Peace honoree is Murad Al-Katib. Mr. Al-Katib receives the award for his business-worthy entrepreneurship in leading the way in sustainable agriculture and contributing to feeding millions of refugees families in the Syrian crisis. Al-Katib has built a global and innovative food ingredient company which has become one of the largest suppliers of value-added pulses, staple foods, and food ingredients in the world. Mr. Al-Katib, would you please come to the stage?
The name of the third 2017 Business for Peace honoree is Elon Musk. Mr. Musk receives the award for his trailblazing of the frontiers of technology to confront the systemic challenges of climate change and build societal trust in sustainable energy and transportation, for his leadership of the way forward in the automotive industry, and for his showcasing of business ability to help confront and solve the world's most demanding and complex problems. We have the honor to have Mr. George L. with us here today, representing Mr. Musk. Mr. L, would you please come to the stage?
The name of the fourth 2017 Business for Peace honoree is Dr. Harley Seyedin. Dr. Seyedin receives the award for his business-worthy entrepreneurship, promoting societal inclusiveness and opportunities for the dispossessed as systemic features of development. Building a multinational electricity and low-carbon infrastructure development business, He spent more than 20 years in China, always seeking to promote a development model that is both socially and environmentally, as well as economically, sustainable. Dr. Seyedin, would you please come to the stage?
I will now have the pleasure of what you can't. I'll get to talk to each of them. But amazingly, we all have microphones, so you can take part in it. And it is my honor first to ask you, Durreen, to come up here and let me ask you a few words. I mean, I've always dreamed of being a sportscaster, and if I were one, I would have said, what do you feel right now? So let's do the cliche right away. What do you feel right now?
Overjoyed and very humbled. So this was quite an honor.
Well, we are humbled because when we read your story and what you do, we see that you are an inspiration to many. There's also a lot of hard work behind it. I heard Madame Bouchemaoui saying here that, and she, by the way, is also a former Business for Peace honoree, that you have thought of a way of doing banking that moves beyond mere profit. Well, most of us, when we think about banking, it is about profit. How have you taken that leap? How have you managed to move beyond just thinking about profit?
Well, it's really about, as I say, bringing finance and development together. And it really is remarkable because my story really starts when I started in Wall Street about 30 years ago. And I took that knowledge to this small bank, which was giving loans to women, and it was Grameen. So this is back in 1991, 92. And for me, that really was the beginning, the fact that you can actually take the power of finance and make it good. And I just took it to the next level and tackling that small little thing called capital markets. So it is possible. And a lot of people is also doing it along with me.
Absolutely. The theme of today is the future. How do we actually build an economy today that sees towards the future, that not least contributes to peace, contributes to the absence of armed conflict? How can you, through your work as a banker, contribute to that?
The essence of peace is inclusion. And the essence of inclusion in a society has to have a backbone, and the backbone of that is finance. So for me, finance has to tackle the whole notion of being inclusive, and that's frankly what we are working towards. And in terms of the inclusion, it really has to be not only thinking about how we have been doing business, the way we do it, or the financial markets operating the way they are, but really thinking in terms of transformation. It is thinking of things like women as not only just a victim, but as a solution of a process. Thinking of climate change as something that we can't tackle, but looking at climate action. And even looking at marginalized people in the society as a reason to actually make them an inclusive part of the solution. So I think for us, all this is very difficult, but the point is if we don't bring them into part of the equation, it's impossible for us to have peace.
Absolutely. Let me just follow up a little bit on the gender issue, because as a peace and conflict researcher myself, I know that the question of how we actually create a gender-inclusive society is absolutely key also to building peaceful societies. How can business people contribute to that? I mean, you have an audience here of investors, of business CEOs who are asking you the question, how can we do more to create a more inclusive world?
So I think to start off, obviously, in terms of working with women, employing women, that's the simplest. But I think let's really take it further and think of various financial structures, innovative financial platforms where we can have women be a part of it. We're doing a lot of work like this. We're issuing a bond for women. Right now, we're looking to do one in the US as well, actually challenging the whole notion of bringing in women's reproductive rights, which is now in question in the US. So we need to actually bring these issues into the financial system and be able to create financial structures that is not looked at as a philanthropy, but really looked at as a financial solution with financial return, but also tackling the social and the environmental issues. And gender is a key social issue.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
inspiration you give, for your fantastic work. Another round of applause.
Thank you.
Murad Al-Katib, what a pleasure to be here with you too. Congratulations on this honor.
Thank
you have done truly innovative work when it comes to grain trade. When you wake up in the morning, what is it that drives you? Is it the thought that this is actually a fantastic business that you're in? Or do you also think of the people that you actually reach and the things that you can do for them?
Well, I think that, certainly the concept of the company came from creating opportunities in rural communities for, farmers and producers, and, looking at the agricultural sustainability of a crop rotation in Canada, we had an opportunity to introduce a new crop which could complete a 3-crop rotation and make, affordable, high-protein crops available to the world. And so, the Canadian farmer embraced that with a little bit of help from our, company. When we started up, the lentil discovery in Canada was very, very new, and we built it up to 11 million acres of production in a decade. And so, Canada is now providing 65% of the world's lentils, and, this is really a high-protein, high-fiber, non-GMO, gluten-free crop. And, we've really affected the affordability of these crops in the world. And I think that, that's what drives the next chapter is food security. That's what I think a big part of stability in the world is available food.
Great. Let me ask you about this balance again between what you do as a business, but also what you can do as an idealist and what you can do to help. Because you have also worked, for instance, with the UN World Food Programme and made sure that they can distribute the foods that are needed.
Well, when we looked at the Syrian refugee crisis, it was truly, a human tragedy unfolding, and one that, needed emergency and very swift response. And the United Nations and the International Red Crescent, Red Cross movement, we approached them. We were working collaboratively on supply chain innovation, and we came up with a concept which was very simple, which was to consolidate items that they were distributing to families in the Syrian refugee crisis into one carton box, which would then be distributed as a family ration. And last year we distributed 4.5 million cartons, which accounted for 700 million refugee meals.
I think that deserves applause, doesn't it?
Yeah, thank you. But it really was just a simple concept in terms of making it very efficient and saving money for the United Nations and ICRC at the time, and also allowing them to more effectively respond to the emergency. And that's been a very effective partnership. So we're going to continue on with that vein with the NGOs and governments.
That's great. So what you're saying is that when institutions like the UN or the International Red Cross tells the world that there is a crisis, there are also businesses that can respond, that can help them, that can innovate with them.
I mean, to me, it is the responsibility of businesses to work collaboratively with governments and with NGOs to tackle, the problem of food availability and food inflation. And, I said earlier today, a baby is hungry, they cry. A 20-year-old man is unemployed and hungry, they protest. And from that perspective, civil society and the development and sustainability of democracy is actually hinging on food availability. And, we can't ignore the intensive nature of agriculture and the effect it has on available water, on carbon footprint. And, vegetable protein is a societal solution. It's something that we must embrace in order to meet the challenge of producing the same amount of food in the next 40 years that we produced in the last 10,000 years of civilization. That is society's opportunity, but also our challenge and our responsibility to meet it.
I thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Big applause. Thank you so much. Harley? You'll get your turn too, I promise you. Yeah, but I already told Harley that he would come before, and I didn't want to make him, sad. No, it is a great honor to have you here. It was pointed out earlier that we are today in the company of people who have moved around, people who are immigrants. Where are you originally from?
I was born in Iran. I spent the first 18 years in Iran, next 20 plus years in the US, and the last 25 years in China.
Fantastic. And You see that many of these challenges that we are talking about here, the solutions that we need to find, they must be found by people working across borders. Can you tell us some of the things that you have done in order to take ideas from one place and try to make them real in other places?
Well, before I say that, what I want to say is that I hope that this award will help me demonstrate that first-generation immigrants can, in fact, assimilate into their new societies, can, in fact, contribute, and can, in fact, contribute to the cause of peace. Right. And I think that's very important. Thank you. Of course, I was in the business of development in the United States. I met a beautiful girl in 1990 who had just graduated from Georgetown University. She is my wife in this life, and hopefully I can ask her to marry me in my next life, and hopefully she will accept. She's been my backbone. She's been the brains behind me. She's been the cause of my success. I followed her to China. She said, let's go to China, and there will be opportunity there. I went there. I saw a cultural revolution, an industrial revolution that was happening, and I didn't want to miss that one because I'd missed the previous one, but that wasn't my fault. So I stayed. As a result of that, I built the very first Western-owned power plant in China. I built the very first Western-owned toll road in China. And the one that I want to tell you about that I'm very proud of is that in the late 1990s, a lot of Chinese brilliant students had the opportunity to be able to go to the United States and study, but a lot of them had a very difficult time getting a visa to go to the United States. And after some of them who I knew who were brilliant enough that I thought would contribute to U.S. society, to our quality of life back home, were rejected, I said, well, I'm going to do something about it. If I can't get my government to give them visas, I will bring their universities here. So I worked together with my friend. In a previous life, I was chairman of all 17 community colleges in the state of Maryland by appointment of 3 governors. And so I teamed up my best friend, who's now 30-some-year friend, president of UAW University in Texas, the University of Incarnate Word in South China, the South China Normal University in Guangzhou. And I raised the money. We built an identical copy of the campus that's in Texas, in South China. And we brought the university professors from the United States. We offered an English program. We had a 4-year, fully U.S. accredited degree program that we offered to Chinese students without the need for them to go to the United States to get the degree. And as a result of that, I was able to speak at the graduation ceremony every year. And that was the one moment I look forward to all year round. And you know, we made a profit out of it as well. It wasn't all charity, but business can, in fact, get involved in any business stream, benefit from it, make money, and contribute to the betterment of the society.
But what you are saying is that in order to do that, we have to reach across borders, and we have to learn from each other.
Well, what I'm basically saying is that we have to be crazy, and the only person who's never called me crazy is my wife. Okay, but at the same time, nobody has ever called me a genius either, even though we've succeeded, because all the ideas have come from my wife.
Well, after this, I'm sure they will call you a genius too. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
sir. George L., head of Tesla in Europe, a great pleasure to have you here on behalf of Elon Musk. Congratulations to him, but congratulations, of course, to all of you for things that you do. Well, it's hard to be in someone else's place, but I'll still take the chance and ask you, what does this particular award, Business for Peace, mean to Elon Musk, you think?
First of all, a huge thank you on his behalf, of course, to the foundation, the committee, and all of you for honoring him in this way. And I think if he was standing here in these shoes, what he would say is that he's always been inspired to solve humanity's most challenging problems. And that when you look at any of his businesses, whether it's Tesla, SpaceX, or more recently, tunneling mind-machine interfaces or in, research into artificial intelligence, these are humanity's most pressing challenges. And that he said famously, actually, that when he started Tesla, others might have thought that it would be idiocy to start a car company. To start an electric car company was idiocy squared. But he's motivated to solve these tough problems.
So he is living in, you are living in, we are living in a world that changes absolutely all the time. So you have to adjust, you have to come up with new ideas. But is there still a red thread, as we say in Norway, a common purpose through what he does with his companies, a sort of united mission and purpose?
Well, I think it's really about trying to leave the world in a better place than we found it. And he actually, again, to quote him or sort of paraphrase, he said recently in a very simple and elegant way, I would like to be able to wake up in the morning and think about the future and not be sad. And so whether it's saving the planet with Tesla, turning humanity into multi-planetary species with SpaceX, or just kind of looking after humanity's prospects in the face of increasing artificial intelligence, I think Elon's trying to make sure the world is left in a better place.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to Elon Musk for sending you here. Thank you. You may now thank you. An extra round of applause for our honorees. Thank you. Thank you so much. I wish we could have continued this conversation for a long time. There are lots of questions to ask, inspirational questions, critical questions, a debate and a conversation that I hope will continue. We're getting towards the end, and I thought I'd finish off personally with one of my favorite illustrative stories about this of opening up new space. Some of you will know that I sometimes tell this story, but I just think it's so beautiful. It's about a woman, she's a pilot, and she's landing her plane at a runway where she's never landed before. And she's been told that it's a really short runway. It's really short, really short. So she has to brake all the way down before she lands right at the edge, and then have to brake with everything she has, you know, flaps and engines and everything. And she's really nervous, and she's sweating, and she's coming in, and she's landing, and stopping more or less at once. And she exclaims, "Wow, that was a short runway." And the second pilot says, "Yes, and goodness how wide it is." Sometimes, my friends, I think we just see the short end. And I think a common theme for everything that we have heard today is seeing the wider opportunities. We will have a great musical closure with our artists from earlier and some others. Well, you'll see soon, but there's a choir involved. It'll be fantastic. A special thanks to pianist and composer Maren Selvåg, who has helped coordinate all the music. To all of the great musicians that we have heard, I can only recommend to you to look at Alia Saikon's project on the internet. Thanks warmly also to the generous sponsors of Business for Peace. I know that you couldn't do this without that support. To the city of Oslo, which supports the Business for Peace. To all of those who work for the Business for Peace, including the great people of Sigla. And, of course, most of all, thanks to our honorees and to all the rest of you who inspire us with your great work. So, the final thing I'm going to say before we listen to this great piece of music is have a wonderful 17th of May Day tomorrow. And next year, same place, same time, isn't it, Per? The 16th of May. So I'll just finish off by saying good morning, and if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
you.